And so here's Venom so far, and he's looking really good. I'm particularly fond of... Wait, spoilers? I'm not ready to show this yet. Let's go back. Making Venom out of paper has been really freaking challenging because he's so big and complicated and one of the most difficult models I've done by far. And as I learned in this video on Mob Psycho 100, I really have a difficulty focusing on just one project at a time. It gets boring really quickly, especially when it's a repetitive process, which is why when it comes to paper models, I tend to not finish the ones as soon as I've done the unique parts to them. But I do still want to finish Venom and Thanos, so I will just get the distractions out of the way and finish working on Venom. Continuing with his feet. I already have a prototype for what I think the shape would look like, and I'm just going to keep it simple and color it black. I'm not going to bother adding too many details or veins because who cares about Venom's feet, really? I don't. Okay, cut this open to see what it will look like flat. Now I'm tracing it for the good copy. Color it. Then fold it all together. Aha! And now I have this basic structure of the foot done. Now here is the most important part to a structurally sound foot, is to coat the seams of the paper where the paper is folding together with just a bunch of glue, just heaps of glue. Then finally, take out your ankle joint, wrap another cylinder around that, and now this tube will slot into right above here. Pull the sides of the foot in tightly around there to create that kind of narrow shape towards the upper foot, and add tons more glue. And that's it. 30 minutes well spent. Here's what both of them look like complete. So we have the ankle bend here, and of course the ankle pivot. Moving on, I'm going to be doing the legs next. And I have already added the structure pieces in all the key areas like the calves and the adductors and the inner leg here, the front of the quads, and oh, actually I do still have to add the hamstring and the upper quads. Whoopsie. I have actually added 2 extra structure pieces to the calves along the inner here and then the outer here, which I wouldn't normally do, but I just decided to this time because I've grown particularly attached to how I've drawn his calves in this illustration here, and I want to ensure that I get that accurate. And that's what the structure pieces are here for, to indicate the specific shape in key areas. So you could actually just keep adding structure pieces all the way around to fill out the shape as much as possible, so the paper has less area it has to fill in, because the paper is just connecting the empty space between the structure pieces. But, you know, to continue adding structure pieces isn't really necessary, and it will add weight to the model. Calf piece will look like this, flat, and then like this, folded together. Ready to just be stuck to the leg like that. It'll just wrap around those structure pieces already in place. Like this, pretty much. It's looking good. And the adductors here is this piece that's going on the inner thigh, like this. Then like this, folded together. And the shin is just a simple strip of paper being glued to the front, wrapping around and just covering all the white space. That's all that's really doing. And now to move on to the upper body and get Venom shredded. The abs are separated as much as possible, and they're just simple pieces like this with 2 to 3 cuts on each side to round the shape. And the first 2 sections of the abs are just stuck here to the waist joint. And this one's going to be attached to the body right around this arch here, which is indicating the rib cage. And the obliques, the sides of the abs, are broken down into 2 different sections, like this lower section here for what's called the flank portion, I believe. This part sticks out a little bit, and then it goes in a little bit as we get further up, and then expands outward again with the rib cage coming in, and then also the upper obliques, and then the serratus muscle as well, which creates this little staircase zigzag pattern on the sides here. Man, this is looking wonderful. This is why I started making toys out of paper over 11 years ago. This is what I was going for. This is what I wanted to achieve. It's a really rewarding feeling I have here, where I just put my head down for a week or 2 to knock out all the different parts of Venom with little to no expectations of how it would turn out, and I got lost in the process and wasn't invested in the result at all. I learned to move on from one piece once it was good without redoing the same part over and over again in pursuit of perfection. Something I understood in theory long ago, but I'm only now managing to put into practice. My expectations were actually met, and Venom has the best abs I've ever done, for sure. Look at the way the light is catching his shoulders here. You can see the shape of the individual muscles from the curve of his traps to where his neck pops out, through these subtle little changes in plane on the chest around here. Just by the form of the muscle alone, you can identify what's what before the coloring and shading is indicating that. Because I do use multiple tones like you would a 2D drawing, the highlights on his abs and pecs really pop. Like you can see, because it is a 3D shape, there's a shadow on the lower side of his pecs, but because I actually colored that part darker, it's really adding more depth to the final result. Like combining the techniques used in a 2D drawing with how light actually reflects off 3D objects is just creating, I don't have any more words, it looks good. That's it, it looks good. Speaking of which, I use this lovely grey here, BV25, which has this subtle purple hue to it that I just adore. And it's this colour that allowed me to somewhat give Venom those blue-purple highlights he commonly has in the comics, while still remaining faithful to the pitch dark black he was in the movie appearance. I knew I wouldn't be able to replicate the slimy shine he has in the film, so I decided to go the other direction with more of a matte colour and those purple-grey highlights I mentioned. I also have a newfound appreciation for the time it takes to achieve a model like this, with these 3 pieces of paper here taking me like 6+ hours to do. But when you consider the several rough copies I do, the tracing, cutting it out, deciding where I'm going to make cuts and how many I'm going to make to curve the shape, the line work, the details, the coloring, also coloring the edges of the paper to get rid of those white blank spots, bending/rounding the paper to shape it, taping the gaps together, gluing the seams from the back so it holds together, taping the back pieces as well, waiting for it to dry, making sure it lines up, then gluing it on, waiting for it to dry again, then peeling off the outside tape to give him that clean, hand-drawn aesthetic. It's no wonder each piece takes about 2 hours, and he has many pieces. And then there's the touch-ups I do after I peel off the tape to bring the color back in. This part I really like though, because it's a literal reminder that what I'm going for here is a 3D drawing, because I have my 3D model of a character that I adore, and I'm coloring it in as I would a 2D drawing. It's just, there's a mix of emotions and I love it. Oh, I missed a spot. It's like revealing a fresh new canvas underneath. It has that new car smell too. I'm kidding, I lied. That was a joke. Can videos convey smell yet? No? Oh, thank God, because I haven't showered in... And that'll do it. Next time you see Venom, I will be doing his back and adding a few gimmicks. You know how Spider-Man had like a web shooter back in the day? Yeah, well, we're gonna dial that up to 11 for Venom. But almost there. Venom's almost done. And thank you for watching, everybody. I appreciate your time, as always. And you'll see me and Venom later.